So, the linear inequality y is less than negative 2/3 x plus 2 is graphed. Determine a solution for the inequality. What I would suggest you do first is just plot all four of these points. 0, 2 would be don't move on the x-axis, go up 2 on the y. So it would land on the line. 3, 0 would be right 3 and then don't go anywhere on the y-axis, so that would land on the line. 0, 0 would be at the origin, and 0, 3 would be up here above the line. A solution will fall in the shaded area or on a solid line. But this is not a solid line, it's a dashed line, and that's because there was no equal to bar. Okay, if there is an equal to bar, you would make the line solid, and anything on the line would be a solution. But since it's not, the only solution is this one. Now let me show you why. I'm going to rewrite the inequality. But instead of writing x and y, I'm going to replace it with the x and y value of the point. That becomes 0 is less than negative 2/3 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2. Is that a true statement? 0 is less than 2? Yes. Now let me choose one of these points that's on the dashed line, something like 3, 0. If I'm rewriting the entire inequality, but replacing the y value with 0 of that point, and the x value with the 3, that becomes 0 is less than, this becomes a negative 2 when you multiply together, and negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Is 0 less than 0? No, they are equal. So see how it would have worked had there been an equal to line? But it's not, which is why it's dashed. And if points fall on the dashed line, they're not solutions because that is not a true statement. The only true statement was the one where you replaced the y and the x with 0, and that was C. That was the point in the shaded area. Any questions? Okay, today we are going to start going over the EOC packet, starting with Unit 1. It says, look at the radical. What is a rewritten form of this radical? Now, I am aware that most of you will just type this in, and you'll get the decimal version of it, and then you'll type in the choices until you find that same decimal version. However, I know that on the EOC, there is a small portion that is non-calculator. Okay, and you very likely... No, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could even have something like this on the non-calculator one. So let's practice doing it the way that we would have to do it if we didn't have choices. Now, I am hoping that if they do go with something like this on the non-calculator section, that they don't pick a number that large. Okay? But 726 is an even number, right? So couldn't you start by dividing it by 2? And you get 363. So you could go with 2 and 363 if you wanted, but I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to go 726 divided by 6. I know, which is why I'm telling you. I hope on the, if it is on the EOC, that it's something you can do in your head. Right, you could do it by hand if you had to. Yes. Okay, so 6 times 121 is 726. Now from here you should be able to do it without a calculator. What multiplies to give you a 6? What multiplies to give you a 121? Right. So now that you have prime numbers at the bottom, and everybody knows what I mean by prime numbers? Numbers that, right, because the only way to get a 2 is 2 times 1. Same thing with 3 and 11. So you circle any sets you have. One of them gets killed, one of them gets kicked out, and anything not circled gets to go back inside the house, and they multiply together to make a 6. But I don't see 11 squared to 6 over here. Right, that negative 8 on the outside now comes down and multiplies by that 11, making negative 88 square roots of 6. Now remember, if you do not know how to do that, and it is on the section where you can use a calculator, you can type this in by doing negative 8 square roots of 726, and it gives you that decimal. And then you can type in, starting with choice A, negative 88 square roots of 6, and you will see that you get the same decimal. Now, I would be careful though doing that way, because I have seen before where they put two answers that give you that same decimal. So you need to type all four in, and because one of them could just be like not simplified all the way down. It might still be equivalent, but not in simplest form. Kind of like if this were an elementary school test and you had a fraction that you were supposed to simplify, and it was like 50 over 10. What if you just simplified it to 5 over, or not, wait, I meant 50 over 100. What if you just simplified that down to 5 over 10? What should it really be simplified to? 1/2. So they're all equal, but this would be the right answer because it's most simplified. They may do the same thing on here, so you would at least need to type them all in to make sure that only one of them was the same decimal before just deciding to go with that one, okay? And then if you do have two that match, then at least attempt factor tree. If you can, at least you got a 50-50 shot of guessing. Okay, number 2. Same kind of thing, but this time you're multiplying two radicals. When you multiply them, first you take care of the outside numbers, like 2 and then understood 1 would multiply to make a 2. Then you can multiply the inside ones, the radicands. 8 times 20 is 160. Hopefully, if it's non-calculator, it'll be something more like that you can do without a calculator. What are numbers that multiply to make 160? Okay, or 10 and 16, or 40 and 4. So there's several options. Hopefully you'll be able to figure those out without a calculator if you had to. Then what numbers make a 10? What numbers make a 16? 4 and 4 would have been fine. And I'm actually going to go back and do 4 and 4 just because it'll make the tree end sooner. 5, 2, 2, 2, and 2 and 2. So now I have a set of 2's here. One gets killed, one gets kicked out. A set of 2's here, one gets killed, one gets kicked out. So how many are now on the outside? 4. 2 2's got kicked out, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now, who all gets to go back inside? Right. But why is that answer not over here? 4 times the 2 already out there makes this become an 8. And then if you didn't know how to do it that way, you can always just type this in, get the decimal version of it, type in all 4, which would you really need to type in B? No, that's a 5. That's a whole number. So you would just need to type in A, C, and D and see which one matched this in decimal form. Okay, number 3. Which sum is rational? The first 5 letters of rational are ratio. Okay, so we're looking, sure. Very good. Right, pi will never be rational, so A and D are out. Right, it has to terminate. Right. Correct. It is B. But let me go over it because not everybody remembers all that stuff. So, watch. This is what I would do. Does everybody see the pi symbol over here below clear? So to press that, what do? Second and then that button. And then if you add 18 to it, you will see, like Zaire just said, that there's no pattern to that. And it does not terminate. It does not end. But remember how I taught you to go to alpha y equals and number 4 to try to change a decimal into a fraction? So hit number 4 and then hit enter. Did it turn it into a fraction for you? No. So that means this is irrational. Pi will always be irrational. So then you would type in the next choice. The square root of 25 plus 1.75 equals that. You can see that it terminates, it stops, and if you go to alpha y equals number 4 and hit enter, it will turn it into a fraction, so it's rational. Does that make sense? All right, number 4. Which product is irrational? So this time we're looking for the one that will not become a fraction. Okay, Naya? John. Number 4. Okay, Naya, which one is irrational? D is correct. Shh. Okay, look. You don't have to do it the way I'm about to do it. What's the square root of 2? What's the square root of 2 times the square root of 50? The square root of 100, which yes is 10. 10 can become a fraction. All you got to do is put it over 1, and now it's rational. What's the square root of 64 times 4? Or you could break it apart. What's the square root of 64? What's the square root of 4? 8 times 2 is, and 16 over 1 is rational. What's the square root of 9? What's the square root of 49? 3 times 7 is 21, can be put over 1, and it's rational. But this would be the square root of 80. And watch what happens when I type it in. The square root of 10 times the square root of 80 becomes the square root of 8 becomes the square root of 80. Well, we all know that the square root of 80 is not a perfect square. And so you get a decimal. When you go to alpha y equals number 4 and try to turn it into a fraction, it will not become a fraction. So it's irrational. All right, number 5. A rectangle has a length of 12 meters and a width of 400 centimeters. What is the perimeter in centimeters of the rectangle? Okay, what'd you get, Travis? It is actually D. Shh. Let's go over it. Okay, if I were you, I would draw myself a rectangle for visual. It is perimeter, not area. Okay, and look, your length is 12 meters. Your width is 400 centimeters. However, they want the perimeter in centimeters. So you need to remember King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Where is meters at in this? No, that's millimeters. Meters is a base. Think about it. We have centimeters, we have millimeters. So meters is the base, just like liters is a base and grams is a base. So this is where you would start, and centi is where you would finish. Doesn't that mean you have to go 2 to the right? So if you're at 12 and you go 2 to the right, now don't you fill those with zeros and you're actually 1,200 centimeters? Okay, so now look. This is perimeter, which means you add up all the sides. So if this side's 1,200, this is 2 because it's a rectangle and those are equal. Same thing for this. This 400. When you add them all up, it's 3,200. All right, number 6. What do y'all think? It is B. Let's go over how. Jill swam 200 meters in 2 minutes 42 seconds. If each lap is 50 meters long, which is most likely to be her time in seconds per lap? Well, the key words are in seconds. So what should you do first? Turn all this into seconds. How do we do that? Well, a minute is how many seconds? So 2 minutes is how many seconds? And 120 plus another 42 would be how many seconds? 162. So how do you know to divide it by 4? Right. If it's a 200-meter race and each lap is 50 meters, that's 4 laps. So you divide it by 4, and you actually get 40.5. But remember, those words tell you that it's going to be an approximate answer, so 40. All right, number 7. What is the product of 7x minus 4 and 8x plus 5? What does that word mean, product? Multiply. So you are going to multiply that binomial times this binomial, and how do we do that? Distribute, and double distribute, because there's two things that have to be distributed. First, the 7x gets distributed to both of those. 7x times 8x is, and 7x times 5 is. Then you have to distribute the negative 4 to both of those. Negative 4 times 8x is negative 32x, and negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. So now you know your answer has to have a 56x squared, so A and B are out, and you know it has to have a negative 20, so D's out. And then you can confirm, just to make sure you haven't messed up anywhere else, 35x minus 32x is positive 3x, so C. All right, number 8. What did you get? Nope. C is correct. Let's go over it. Again, we are trying to find perimeter, which means you add up all the sides. Well, I'm pretty confident you all know that like this and this mean these sides are equal. So this is 6x minus 4. And then same thing down here with the sides of the house. They each have two little markings. I know it's hard to see one of them, but so they're both equal. So now perimeter means add it all up, so you just combine the like terms. 6x plus 6x plus 12x plus 14x plus 12x is 50x. Negative 4 plus negative 4 plus 3 plus 13 plus 3 is 11. All right, number 9. Which expression has the same value as the expression 8x squared plus 2x minus 6 minus 5x squared minus 3x plus 2? How do I start this problem? Well, you can't really type in variables though. You could type in the coefficients, but you got to know which ones to combine. Okay, Travis? Right. This minus does not just belong to the 5x squared. The parentheses let you know that everything over there is being subtracted. So yes, it's like distributing the negative to every term over there. Now it will not affect that first trinomial. It will remain 8x squared plus 2x minus 6. But over here, you subtract 5x squared. You're also subtracting negative 3x, which turns that into a plus because minus a negative is positive. And then you're subtracting 2. Now you just combine like terms. 8x squared can be combined with, and 8x squared minus 5x squared is 3x squared. So these two are out. 2x can be combined with, and that makes 5x. And so now it's pretty much B, but you can always make sure that you have it right by looking at the last ones. Negative 6 and negative 2 is negative 8. What?